Craig Elwood, 1922, 1992. So he died at 70. Let's read a little bit about him. Craig Elwood was an influential Los Angeles-based modernist architect whose career spanned the early 50s through the mid-1970s. Although untrained as an architect, so there, I knew something. Untrained as an architect, Elwood fashioned a persona and career through equal parts of a talent for good design, self-promotion, and ambition. He was recognized professionally for fusing of the formalism of Mies van der Rohe with the informal style of California modernism. And he was quite successful. But some think that there was something of a charlatan in him. But I don't know, sometimes the frontier between genius and charlatanism or charlatan is thin. I think he was a genuine good architect with some, curious idiosyncrasies. Let's see. This was the man. And he does look, I usually like people who smoke, not because I also smoked many years ago, but I gave up many years ago as well. It's just that I think people who smoke, sometimes at least, I ask myself, why do people smoke? I imagine that someone who smokes is because that someone has a fire within, and by smoking, at least, can externalize some fume. And what else could be the reason that one smokes? I don't know. Let's move forward. Here he is. He was some kind of a playboy. He loved expensive, exotic, eccentric cars. An interesting man. He was certainly playful, but he built some good buildings. The Hunt House. Here it is, split into two parts near the ocean. He had his office in California, Craig Elwood. Even this is provocative. I mean, this is the elevation of the house towards the street. I would say it's not bad, and I actually suspect he had a dark side. And you'll see one of his major works, a university campus, a university that is, well, factually black, but also maybe a little bit metaphorically as well. Even this one, is rather, you say, misanthropic. Where are the windows? Where is the door? Where this doesn't look like a house, but it is a house. And as you can see, a comfortable house, a modern house, a clean house, a clear house, a functionalist house, you name it. It's a fine building. Craig Elwood, who never studied architecture and who I don't even know how he managed to build. This is the plan. Very simple, no? Large living room, the kitchen here. So here is the day part of the house. This is the night part of the house, the bedrooms. And here you have, I don't know, a bathroom and maybe an additional, toilet or bathroom with shower or whatever. Very simple. But I don't know what's here. The garages. So the facade towards the street are the two garages. But interesting, no? Still, of course, it occupies a significant amount of space, dividing the house in three zones with this circulation in the center. But it's very clear and I think aesthetically interesting. So these are the garages. I mean, even as garages, they are unusual because they are aesthetically, convincing. They are rather mysterious. Two boxes, and with this mysterious kind of, relation, liaison between them, so to speak. I don't know. I think very interesting. Very interesting house. I continue to repeat myself. and look at the facade towards the ocean. Not bad. Well, sometimes I guess it pays not to study in a school architecture, as he did or didn't. You know, who taught him architects? I don't know. Who taught Joseph Brodsky, the Nobel Prize laureate of poetry, the youngest actually poetry? He himself said when he was asked about the police, by the police in St. Petersburg, why doesn't he work? And he said, I work, I write poetry and I make translations. And then they asked him, because they wanted to send him to Siberia or somewhere because he was a parasite. And who gave you the right to write poetry? You know, did you study in a school, in a university? And he said, I didn't. I thought the right was given to me by God. So I guess God gave the right to Craig Elwood to build. Now, of course, in some countries, if not many countries, you need the right for signature. How he got that right in California, I don't know. But obviously, he was a skillful architect, and this building is a clear proof. Not bad. Craig Elwood. Now let's see, where is his house here on this. I used to know, but now I can't see it. It's one of these, you know, maybe here. Yeah, I think it's here on Malibu Road. Not bad. Bravo, Craig Elwood. Yeah, here it is. That's the building. You know, with the simplest means, he made architecture. You know, placing the two garages, you know, like some mysterious boxes or even chapels. You know, it's something religious about the opaqueness and the, you know, apparent misanthropy. You wouldn't think they are garages. And this facade is interesting itself in a different way. Mid-century glass house by Craig Elwood hits the market in Los Angeles for $3 million. So if you get the money, but I guess in the meantime it was sold. I I made this presentation 1 or 2 years ago, so the announcement was valid then, but I'm sure by now it's gone. A lot of glass, of course, but you know, at that time there was no concern for electrical bills. You know, the country had money, and the people who build such houses had the money. They didn't care that the electrical bill was big. Today is a different story, but it's a nice building. It's a good building. And again, that kind of clear thinking, functionally thinking, clean, smooth, convincing modernity or modernism. Fine, good work. Again, Craig Elwood, who in another country might not have built anything because he didn't have the right for signature, because he never studied architecture. Rosenhaus, 1961. Even this house, you know, the distribution of the rooms is very clear, very functional. Yes, it's a generous house, it's a big house, but even the plan itself is nice, you know, and even here with the garage and maybe a pool here, a swimming pool. Is this some kind of a modern replica to La Rotonda by Palladio? Because you see it has 4 stairs on all 4 sides of the building, if you want, you know, I guess, but it's very different, of course. There is no vertical dimension. In the center, instead, is an atrium, a patio. But you see, I guess that kind of car he loved, because I read he actually loved red cars, red eccentric cars. And I think I have a picture, maybe with his own car. It's still a little different from Miss van der Rohe, although the reference to Miss van der Rohe is valid, is for all to see. But I would differentiate between between the architecture of Miss van der Rohe and the one of Craig Elwood. It's a different spirit. Although the architectural language has things in common with the one practiced by Miss. But I think even a superficial reader of architecture, if I am to call that person so, would feel that this is not quite Miss. Certain elements are similar to Miss van der Rohe's architecture, others are not. Maybe these very words, misused them, but for a chapel at the Illinois Institute of Technology, and not so large. It's something a little bit different, but it's a good building. And you see, perfectly symmetrical, nothing wrong with symmetry, even for a building that is, unquestionably modern through and through. Even by today's standards, this building stands out as being, exquisitely modern, both inside and outside. Well, inside, yeah, there are a few pieces here that are rather dated. Craig Elwood. A spectacular view now. Now the Temple of Steel, Daphne Residence, Craig Elwood, designer. I don't know why it's called, well, I guess it used a lot of steel, but why it is called a temple? Maybe because, yeah, maybe that's why, because he used a lot of steel. Craig Elwood. What is strange here, perhaps, look at these steps. There is no podium here. There is no, you just open the door and the stairs begin, the flowing, so to speak, right from the edge of the wall. The functionalists might protest, but maybe it's interesting. Again, many things go, even things that Neufert might object to, many things go. And these are luxurious villas, of course, not, it's not because of lack of money that he did so. It was a certain expressivity, architectural expression that he searched for. And I wouldn't mind living in this house, to be honest with you, even if I might risk my life when I, try to get out from the house through these steps or whatever. I might fall, I might break a leg or two, but it's worth it. Art requires sacrifices. So anyway, Craig Elwood, he had a clientele that admired him, obviously, and he had plenty of works. The Bridge House, this one is interesting. I like bridges in general, and but it was, I think, deserted or something happened to it. I know I saw pictures of students trying to, well, even emulate it with a similar structure somewhere else. This is the, the conceptual drawing or the rendering of the house. He also built, believe it or not, a huge university building in the same way. This is a house. I guess he liked this, the function of the bridge, to unite, the two sides of a rift through a structure. In this case of a house. This particular concept existed since 1964 and was obviously envisioned for a dramatic site. Ellwood associate Gerald Horn worked on the design and drawing above at Ellwood's request. It wasn't realized until Cole Poly students constructed it in 1967, 68. Ellwood had a long relationship with the school, including lectures and teaching. California Polytechnic, I guess, is called Poly, also houses his archives. A very interesting school. When I made the previous presentation, I show some structures built by the students there. Very, very interesting. So I guess this was built based on the design or the drawings. Well, they were done not by him, but by this person, Gerald Horn, but at his request from his office, a bridge house. Nice. But it was, I don't know, abandoned or something happened to it. And nevertheless, the structure remains. And again, it was built by the students of California Polytechnical School, or called Poly, not by him. Now, earth-formed restrooms. Yes. In this presentation, I also, and I'm glad I have this because I can show a few buildings or structures that the students of the same school built themselves. So this has nothing to do with Craig Elwood, or I think it does, or maybe some are, I don't know. I think they just build these experimental structures on the land of this school, California Polytechnical School. Interesting. This is a restroom. So why shouldn't a restroom also be architecture? It is, as you can see. The expressiveness of it is, yes, it was abandoned, vandalized, if you want, graffitis, but the power of architecture, the spirit of architecture is still there. And there are others, you are going to see them. They are very, very interesting. An interesting school. The underground house from 1982 was actually underground at some point. It's not underground any longer, but I'm glad it's not, because it looks very enticing and interesting above the ground. The beauty of architecture. Yes, it is beautiful when it is playful, creative, crazy even a little bit. It has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, you know, we die of boredom. My God, we don't want that, do we? Look at this. You know, it's unique, it's interesting, it's a creation. Okay, it doesn't have to be too serious or too morosely serious. It's fine like this. Even the graffitis are interesting. You know, I'm sure future researchers, if they discover it, they will ask all kinds of esoteric questions about the meaning of these, you know, inscriptions on the walls. Stick structure, 1976, renovated in 2009. Again, the students built it. Nice, useless. It's a useless structure. It doesn't have a structure. It's just a stick structure. They built it with metallic sticks. The shell house. Look at this. Students built it. Maybe we should have just students build buildings, you know. Allow them to be so-called unknowing and irresponsible. We would have a very interesting world, no? Imagine, you know, thousands of irresponsible architecture students, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of irresponsible architecture students all over the world, building, expressing themselves with joy and playfulness. The exterior is the oldest structure still in the canyon. The roof was created by putting a center pole with cables hanging down, then shotcrete was sprayed onto a wire mesh that was welded onto the cables. The pole was then removed. That's the building. I think even that tree is happy, although the building is very close to it, but it's the cohabitation between nature or God and man. look at this, even the interiors, it's interesting, it's enticing, it's architecture. That's what it is. It is architecture, yes. The greenhouse, 1983, 1989. Can you believe it? Built by the students without Craig Elwood, although his archive is there. A geodesic dome, 1957, and geodesic it is. I think Buckminster Fuller also taught here at this school, California Polytechnic. After a speech, you see, after a speech by Buckminster Fuller at Cal Poly in 1956, that is California Polytechnical School, a group of 5 architectural engineering students came together to build his patented geodesic dome. This was the first permanent dome of its kind in the Western United States. Let's look at it again. Again, built by passionate students. Bravo to them. We need more of them. Okay, the Fratesa Tower, 2004. This was, of course, built by the students on this campus. We are dealing with the works of Craig Elwood. It's not really a tower, but it's still interesting. You see, these structures, which are mysterious in terms of their function, I think are stimulating for the imagination, for the eye. Poly Canyon. It's Poly Canyon, not, I thought it was Californian. I don't know why I saw an L. Here I see something else. Pathway to Poly Canyon, or maybe it is Californian Poly School, but here is also about a canyon from 1976. It's this is the name of this campus where we saw all these buildings, all these structures. It's also referred to as the Design Village of Architecture Graveyard. If this is a graveyard, I have to tell you, I didn't see anything morbid in it. I think it's actually more like a birthhouse than a graveyard. And here is the plan of the site with these structures built by the students. Okay, we move forward now to Craig Elwood, but not yet. Experimental practices laboratory. I love this. Architecture has to be experimental. College of Architecture and Environmental Design, dedicated in 1963 by Dean George Hassan. This area is intended for full-scale experimentation by CAED students here. We seek to abolish the distance between theory, design, and construction. For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. I love this. I love this. Let's read this again. For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, esoteric survey, that's where I found this material. Maybe you are interested to make a note about this website and study further what these remarkably irresponsible creative students did. That's a Google map of the site. Now, Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, and I was waiting to arrive at it, built by Craig Elwood, and you'll be surprised because this building is, in a way, out of this world. You know, this man who never studied architecture was audacious enough, eccentric enough to build this huge bridge. I mean, look at this, and it's black, and it's wild in a way, although it is Cartesian. I hope I have a picture from the air. It's a rectangle. It's a rectangle. It's completely Cartesian, but in contrast with the relief, with nature, it becomes quite potent. Craig Elwood, look at this. He built it. It's a university. It's almost utopia, no? Almost fantastic. He built it. Yes, you can do with right angles a rectangularity. Also, if you have a vision, a courageous vision, and like in this case, nature was, providing the drama, but then the building itself, in contrast with nature, amplified the drama. Excellent work. Look at the plan. It's very simple. But what is not simple is the nature is the place where it finds itself. The plans are, we know by now that Craig Elwood was a great, seer, so to speak, in terms of organizing functions very clearly. And it shows here too, even if I don't know precisely what functions there are there, but I can imagine them. It's a school, it's a university, there are classrooms, there are, auditoriums and so on. I find the building refreshing, actually, in all its orthogonality. And I think it might be that this is his car under the Pasadena, I think, if that's what it is, if I remember correctly, the name of this college. I read it, I remember reading he loved red cars and rather, high-speed cars, eccentric cars. Architects in general like them. So it might be that this is the car of the author of this building.